nuclear facilities. What are you expecting?
So I think it's important to go back to the Prussian military theorist Karl von Clausewitz, who talks about war as being a continuation of politics or policy.
Just ahead, turn right on Sequoia Avenue.
So, I think really the goal, the question here is, what's the U.S. political objective with Iran right now? If it is largely about
turn right on Sequoia Avenue, then turn left on Arbor Run Place.
We'll see something that's somewhat close to Operation Midnight Hammer, but the U.S. is probably also going to have to go after Iranian air defense capabilities, which the Israelis had already taken care of.
Turn left on Arbor Run Place, then drop off on the right.
Strikes. If the U.S. wants to go after Iran's missile capabilities or partner forces, or even start targeting some of the forces that are cracking down on protesters, then you're going to see a bigger target set list. And so, again, this all comes back to the administration's political objectives here.
So let me add something that he's leaving out of this conversation.
Drop off on the right.
Once the U.S. attacks Iran, Israel will come in with an attack. Israel has already sounded the alarm Wednesday evening that people needed to get ready. They sounded off the emergency signal. So remember, in Israel, they have bunkers where people can go hide underground.
ZYAV says, leave the door. Please leave at the front door.
Already sounded the emergency signal on Wednesday night. So he's not adding that part. He's trying to
ZYAV says, leave the door. Please leave at the front door.
That gives the thumbs up for Israel to come in and attack as well. And even if the U.S. government just attacks these said nuclear sites, what people have to remember is that Iran can attack those U.S. bases that are in the region. So this is a catastrophic decision. And we have been sounding the alarm about this for the longest time. It is absolutely insane to war with Iran. But Donald Trump wants to seemingly do. And I would argue that even if Iran had made the deal and said, yes, we agree to your deal that we have to do these things, I would say the U.S. would attack them anyway, because they don't want the regime there. They want a regime there that is going to bend the knee to the U.S. government and Israel. Let's all remember all these talks about Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff. Jared Kushner, who seemingly seems like he's actually the president of the United States. Donald Trump is not negotiating or talking with Iran directly. He made it very clear on Tuesday that he is going to work with them indirectly. But Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff are the people out there in the Middle East that are trying to make these so-called deals. So it almost feels as though Jared Kushner has more power than Donald Trump does, in a sense. But I think what people have to understand is that ultimately war with Iran at some point was inevitable if they support the Greater Israel Project. And by they, I mean the U.S. government, and the U.S. government does support the Greater Israel Project. There's just been one problem for them, and that's the fact that Iran is
turn right on Sequoia Avenue, then turn left on Walnut Ridge.
At some point, because we have a government here in the U.S. that is controlled by Israel. They do what Israel wants because they feel that Israel, which I also like to call
turn left on Walnut Ridge,
U.S. base in the Middle East, they believe that Israel benefits their best interests in the Middle East. They basically want all the Arab countries that are there to bow to the West. And I'd say for military purposes, that's why the U.S. government supports Israel being there. Joe Biden really gave
just ahead, turn right on Regency.
When he said if there wasn't an Israel, we would have created one. So as much as you hear people like Ted Cruz say, well, the Bible says this and this is why, and we've disputed that.
Turn right on Regency, then turn left on Enon Road.
If there wasn't an Israel there, they would have created one in the Middle East for the interests of the United States. So people have to understand that as well. Let's go on a little bit more here.
Turn left on Enon Road.
Expectation that is not the goal here. Is that a needle that is easily threaded? I mean, is there a way that the U.S. Objective could, in a way, they could overachieve, for instance, what they may be trying to do? How do they make sure they don't do that?
Well, I think partly it's going to be the target set list that the administration starts going after. So if, again, they're just nuclear sites like the ones you just showed on the satellite imagery, those are pretty limited objectives. But if we see those like Tomahawks, for example, going after Islamic Revolutionary Guard sites or Basij sites or other key political targets, for example, decapitation strikes against Iranian political leaders, that starts to move up the escalatory ladder and starts to look much more like weakening the regime and potentially regime change.
He's trying to sound gullible here, but the reality is they all know this. Israel will go after the leaders. Israel will, last time when there was this back and forth between Iran and Israel, don't forget, Israel struck inside of Tehran. So, like I said, these puppets that they bring onto corporate media, again, he's trying to smooth this over. They're trying to make it seem like, don't worry, guys. They're not going to attack any civilians or anything like that. Notice he's not mentioning Israel. Everybody pay close attention to that. This is exactly what the U.S. and Israel want. This is not just the United States government. So CNN here is trying to be very careful about how they frame this. They're also talking about this in such a way with the hopes that more Americans would support these actions. And I don't think that's going to work this time around.
But again, there are huge risks if the administration goes down that road.
Meanwhile, Iran state media reports that Iran and Russia will stage a joint naval drill in the region beginning tomorrow.
You see what's happening here? You see what I said? Iran and Russia to conduct joint naval drill tomorrow. So this is what I was saying. This is
In
what
a quarter mile turn left on Bendiver Road. In a quarter mile turn left on Bendiver Road Southwest.
are still at war. Look at all the conflicts that have happened under the Trump administration. Now, the Russia-Ukraine war didn't start under Donald Trump, but he said he would end it on day one. Didn't he say that? That's still happening.
Turn left on Bendiver Road Southwest.
Causing conflict there. The Trump administration, I don't know if people realize it, they are still targeting boats in the Caribbean right now. So they're still killing people in the Caribbean, right? It was also just announced that the U.S. is going to pull U.S. troops out of Syria. I have no doubt that the reason this is happening is because they want those troops to go into Iran. It's so like obvious what is happening with this administration. So much chaos happening around the world.
In a quarter mile turn right on Union Road Southwest.
And it's just and don't forget, people are still being killed in Gaza. And you have a president who is telling you that he's the peace president, that we have peace in the Middle East. And there are people who actually believe this. Like this guy could
Turn
literally
right on Union
hit
Road
someone
Southwest.
who's walking down the street, make them trip and fall, and he can look to his supporters and say, I was trying to help them walk. And people will believe it. That's how insane this is. Let's go on a little bit more here, and I'll get to that Ted Cruz clip.
Joining us now is Democratic Congressman Jim Himes, Connecticut ranking member on the Intelligence Committee. You think an attack is imminent? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, look, I think the president has now conducted a military attack on Caracas, which went flawlessly, and he's conducted a military attack on the tunnels, the nuclear infrastructure in Iran. That also went flawlessly. So right now, the president believes that he can do this stuff without much risk, which is, by the way, a very dangerous frame of mind because there's a lot of risk involved. I think that both the United States and the Israelis are aware of the fact that the Iranians are doing carefully what they can to sort of restore what was damaged in the initial attacks. And so, yeah,
They are doing that. They're doing what they can to restore it.
yeah, look, they're clearing tunnels, they're restoring electricity, they're doing stuff in tunnels that we can't see. So,
Which is their right. If you were in that situation, if you were in the Middle East and you have a country that's there called Israel and they have nuclear weapons and they have already struck you, they already were aggressive towards you, and they call you the curse and they say that you have got to go, Why would you leave yourself defenseless like that, right?
In a quarter mile, make a slight left turn on Riverside Drive using the right lane.
Nuclear weapons, meaning no country has them, or people have nuclear weapons. I don't think any country should have nuclear weapons. That should have never been a thing. But you can't sit up here and say that Israel was allowed to
Make a
have
slight
nuclear
left turn on
weapons.
Riverside
They
Drive.
already aggressively attacked Iran. They initiated it, but Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. Why would they leave themselves in that situation to be defenseless at this point in time? Why would they do that?
Turn right on Campbellton Road Southwest, then turn right.
So, I mean, I think they're probably doing everything they can to try to rebuild what was destroyed a number of months ago. So, when you say imminent, is it this week? I don't know. The president will be satisfied with something.
Turn right,
that is
then make a slight left turn.
and destroys and breaks a lot of stuff. What happened in Caracas? He doesn't care so much about the longer questions of regime change, which are much more challenging.
Again, they are lying about the regime change. You see how they keep lying? And again, they're doing it intentionally because they know that that has become unfavorable here in the West.
Make a
they're
slight
lying
left
to
turn,
your
then
face,
pick up.
guys. I sat here and I watched commentators on the news lie about Iraq. I sat there and watched them day after day say, oh, no, we're not going to, we're going to do this, and that. They lied to you about Gaza. These people are paid liars. So it's so bad. And by the way, Anderson Cooper, for those who may be wondering, people are like, well, Anderson Cooper, he's Democrat or whatever. Anderson Cooper is
Hi,
also a
welcome to
Zionist.
Popeyes. Para Español, diga Español.
People
What
have
can I
to
get for you?
understand that too.
I got a Uber Eats for Nicole.
This is wild, man.
Which
Please
raises
pull
the
around to the
question,
window.
What would be the objective of a U.S. action against Iran? I mean, if it's not regime change.
Well, remember, this is President Trump, so his
Make
objective
a slight left turn, then pick up.
people cinematically, right? I mean, this is what the president does, right? He points people to his cabinet who look good, who play the part. So, he will be very satisfied with a lot of explosions and a lot of broken stuff in Iran. That doesn't lead to regime change. And in fact, I have a lot of Iranian diaspora folks in my district, and they say, we really hope, especially since Donald Trump told the protesters that we would be there, that he is there. The question is, what does it mean to be there? Regime.
So do you see what they're now doing? They're saying, well, I know Iranians and they really want this to happen. Guys, again, this is absolutely insane. They are already trying to sell this war to the public, just like they sold the war with Iraq. They're doing it again. They're all puppets. So let me debunk the regime change part here, right? Because sometimes people, they do say the quiet part out loud. This was just Ted Cruz on Sean Hannity's show. Listen to what Ted Cruz says.
I think that's exactly right. We're at an extraordinary moment in history. It is entirely possible, Sean, that in the next 6 months, we will see the regimes fall in Iran, in Venezuela, and in Cuba.
What was that? What was that?
I think that's exactly right. We're at an extraordinary moment in history. It is entirely possible, Sean, that in the next 6 months, we will see the regimes fall
Okay.
in Iran,
Nope, no
in
drinks.
Venezuela,
Okay, thank you.
and in Cuba.
So, do you see how they just blatantly lied? They just blatantly lied on CNN. Everyone on the brain knows this is the goal. Not just Iran, but Cuba and Venezuela.
Well, they already did then.
That's why they're wreaking havoc in these countries. They want the regimes to fall. Remember, lots of oil in Venezuela, lots of oil in Iran. And by the way, these drills that are being conducted along the Strait of Hormuz, you got to remember there's a lot of oil that comes from the area as well. They are saying that a strike could happen as soon as Saturday. I would advise you, if you need to get gas now.
For real?
Because the gas prices are going to increase. So it is so obvious. Ted Cruz said the quiet part out loud. That's what they want to do.
And we could also see governments replace them that want to be friends with the United States of America.
Governments replace them. So there you go.
Now, let me be clear. I'm not being Pollyannish about this. There are 1,000 things that can go wrong. But if that happens, this would be the most consequential geopolitical shift since the fall of the Berlin Wall, since America won the Cold War without firing a shot. I spoke with President Trump the day before yesterday, and we talked in particular about Iran. And I said, this moment, the regime is teetering. The Ayatollah is in its last days.
Head to turn right on Campbellton Road Southwest, then turn right.
So do you guys hear this? You guys hear this? So he spoke directly with Donald Trump about Iran. So these people are just lying to you. That's why it's important to watch independent media. Guys, I can show you the movement of the planes right now. This is what was coming through last night. War shared unbelievable developments in just the last 8 hours, and more unfolding right now. Look at this. Let's see if I can make this bigger, sorry. So you can see all the planes moving. It's so obvious, guys. You see it? It just, I don't even know. Where are they headed, ladies and gentlemen? Right there in the Middle East. So it just, like I said, I'm telling you, remember the U.S. has bases all over Europe, all over the world. So once again, yes, the U.S. and Israel are the aggressors here. The United States government is its own worst enemy. Israel is its own worst enemy here, guys. Iran is not trying to attack them. They are trying to attack Iran. And I really want you to push back on that word diplomacy. Well, we're trying to have some diplomacy, but they wouldn't agree. It is not diplomacy to bully a country, to threaten them and tell them they better do this or you will attack them. That is not diplomacy. That is a threat. That is, and that's what the U.S. and Israel are doing to Iran. I can't even believe they're trying to sell this as diplomacy. And pay attention to corporate media. They are going to try to sell this war to you the same way they sold the war in Iraq. Insane. Hey guys, this was a savvy clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.
We at Sidebar have been buried in the latest release of the Epstein files, all 3.5 million of them. And when it comes to Epstein's life, the emails, those especially, contain the bad, the ugly, the downright disturbing. So I want you to join us.
Enter the roundabout and take the first exit onto Campbellton Road Southwest.
So far, but this is not just smut. They are very important in the overall story and a legal context. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
Hey, Jesse.
I know this is a little bit of a 180, but I gotta say it. Guys out there, gotta take care of your skin. But I know it's like a whole big routine. Nobody has time for it.
Nobody has time for that. Your
Parmesan cheese. Pop it and top it on everything. You can't replace that OG taste.
Turn right.
As soon as you hear that, dear Erica,
way out down here.
Take a slight right turn, then turn right.
Kirk found out allegedly that Erica Kirk was having an affair on him. So guess what Charlie Kirk did? In silence, he took her out of the will. Now, this had just come to the light. Not only that, apparently it's
Enter the roundabout and take the third exit. Enter the roundabout and take the third exit onto Campbellton Road Southwest.
A little bacon, baby, that's deep in there. Give them cleavage. Then people want cleavage. Showcase it. Jealous. That's fancy.
So Erica Kirk's ex is turn left on Campbellton Road, then turn right on Camp Creek Parkway Southwest.
Because this is very odd to me.
That man, he was present at that meeting.
Notice the difference in emotional responses between Erica and Candace.
But I don't want today to be about anything other than you guys knowing that Charlie really was an amazing person.
Hi.
Hi.
What up?
2 o'clock.
Okay, cool. 2 o'clock.
Yep.
Sounds good. So we got about an hour or 2 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, well, I love ya.
I love you too.
Okay, I'll see you too.
Okay. Same way.
Right on. Can't wait either. Bless you, love ya. I can't wait either.
Love you too.
Okay.
Love you, Haley.
Peace. See you in a little bit. Bye.
We were really close. And he was my best friend and my brother. That young man.
Hey.
I love you too, Rob.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I'll see you in a little bit. Love you. God bless you. Peace.
I love you.
Bye.
Bye.
That young man. I will never unsee the footage of what I saw, the violence of it. I pray for the people who took any pleasure in that. There's not a single person in the world that I would wish that on. That man. That young man. I forgive him. I will never allow the memory of Charlie to be forgotten, obviously, because there is no Candace without Charlie.
And which one of them triggers what's yours?
If anything happens to that woman, we know who did it. We know who did it. You remember that little song they used to play on here? And she knows. And she knows she knows. And I know she knows. When I know she knows. Erica, she knows. She knows. You know she knows. And you know she knows. That lady's going to solve this whole Charlie Kirk thing. She's on it. She said, this ain't gonna be another JFK mystery. And not only that, she was a gate kid. And she was like, Erica, there's one thing that I was so good at, and that was putting puzzles together. Dear Erica.
Any of her social media platforms or has watched any of her videos, somehow she
In a quarter-mile, turn right on Butner Road Southwest using the right lane.
Dear Erica.
I sat down and watched the entire video. And all I have to say is, Candace, I really hope you double your security, because in that 17.5-minute video, she dropped some claims that she knows the truth about what happened.
Turn right on Butner Road Southwest.
That 2 countries could perhaps be involved in this. Perhaps the country that starts with the letter F and another country that starts with the letter I. And in that video, Candace actually drops a couple of liners where it sounds like she's not playing around.
And if lying, this would definitely fall within the category of defamation. So, yeah, I'm all in on this one.
As well as this one.
One of the things that when I was a kid, another GATE kids, because we've been speaking about the GATE program, and they put you in these special classes, they test you, frequencies, sounds. They made us drink fluoride, all the weird stuff. But one of the things that they're especially interested in is how quickly you can put together puzzles. I want you to know that I excelled at that. You thought someone was going to did express that in writing, and you did not lose those text messages. You knew that. Charlie and I spoke a lot about his third eye. That's why that sentence caught my attention in the article. We spoke about the street lamps that would go off when he would run, about the special school that he had to go to. We spoke about a lot of the things that were strange in our childhood, the testing that both of us had to endure. We spoke about the fact that we could both astral project. You know all of this, of course. You have his phone. And how surprised we were when we learned that not everybody does that naturally. Paralysis, you name it. We had conversations about it. And if Charlie's adrenal glands were going off, it was probably maybe for the very same reason that I pulled my kids out of school days before he was murdered, because I sensed danger was coming. Dear Erica,
In a quarter-mile, turn left on Thames Road using the left lane.
Public conversations keep everybody honest. And there are some things that certainly need to be clarified, because sometimes the gap between the truth and lie is what happens behind closed doors. You and Charlie began dating in earnest in 2019, and in retrospect, it was accompanied by a season.
Turn left on Thames Road.
Change. For one, I was getting married, and virtually, therefore, joined at the hip with my fiance. He was sort of a new third wheel at all of our events. A few months later, on May 1st, the public was informed that I was resigning from my position as the communications director of Turning Point USA. Now, there has been a lot of public speculation as to what led to that decision. The media ran with it was anti-Semitism or some disagreement about Kanye West, but that wasn't true.
Hello guys, how are you doing? I'm hoping that you're doing well. Now this story of Charlie Kirk, it's getting worse, and especially creating a lot of attention in the social media. Now, I just want us to watch these videos here and see what it has inside them. Of course, there's a lot of truth that many had not seen, and it is now coming to the eyes of the public. Now let's dive
In a quarter-mile, turn left on Estates Drive.
at the end of the video. Make sure you do subscribe, do like the video, and share the content.
None of that was true. The truth, I think that you very well know what the truth is, you were around for it, is that Charlie and I had a disagreement, which fractured my trust in him. He did something that he had never done before.
Turn left on Estates Drive.
It's about money. Now, in retrospect, I believe that the manner in which I discovered the lie might have been by design, but there's no need for us to delve into conspiracy when the facts are plain enough. Charlie had taken a meeting down in Florida with Ike Perlmeyer at Mar-a-Lago. It was a fundraising meeting, or whatever.
Just ahead, turn left on Marie Trace.
About this meeting, and that was strange. It was meant to be kept a secret. Strange because we had always collaborated on and taken those sorts of meetings together.
Turn left on Marie Trace, then turn right on Melissa Way.
Casually, as we were riding up an elevator at the Trump Hotel in DC, I said to him, have you heard from Ike recently? And he looked me right in the face.
Turn right on Melissa Way.
On his floor. He said, no, I haven't. I haven't heard from him in like 2 weeks. And I then said back to him, really, Charlie, because you had lunch with him yesterday at Mar-a-Lago. And I
Turn right on Melissa Way, then drop off.
His face looked, as if he was going down a roller coaster. He stuck his arm back in the elevator really quickly and tried to explain it away. He then pivoted toward an apology, but obviously the damage was done. And
Nicole F. says, leave at door. Leave at garage door, please.
Because we were close. We did go back down to the lobby. We sat at a table and we talked.
Nicole F. says, leave at door. Leave at garage door, please.
But deep down, there was a part of me that knew that it was coming because of a lot of the new hires that were coming into Turning Point USA post Kanye tweet. Charlie had new people in his ear that were hijacking his ambition, making him believe that money was the truest measure of success. Charlie was a brilliant fundraiser, everybody knows that, but he was also young. He was naive to what the wrong money could invite into his life, and I warned him. I warned him in that restaurant. I warned him specifically about Stacey Sheridan. Everything about her made my skin crawl. I suspected she and Tyler had something to do with it. I also warned him about Schaefer Security and Dan Flood. You can check the text messages because you have them. And now I am left wondering, obviously, if Charlie had heeded my advice, if he would still be alive. I've also come to another realization that I missed at that time. Maybe the newest and the biggest influence in his ear. Who was that, obviously? It was you. You were the newest and biggest influence in Charlie's life. You kind of all arrived at the same time. And you too, Erica, you lied to my face as we sat down in that hotel and we spoke for 4 hours. But I want to be clear, it was different. You see, with Charlie, I could forgive him. We were always like brother and sister who went on tours thereafter. But you didn't do it when you lied. You didn't do it out of naivety. You didn't do it because you were young and being pulled into the wrong direction by bad faith actors. Andrew Colvett was never going rogue. You knew that. Every single evil thing that was done to me was done with your blessing. And I consider the onslaught of attacks that I had to endure, they were evil. Because you knew I was telling the truth, and you authorized people with an incredible amount of money to attack one of the few people in politics who was actually grieving your husband. You knew we had a deep friendship. You knew I was telling the truth about the Catholic thing, about everything. You allowed these people to lie and to say that Charlie and I hadn't spoken since 2019. I mean, it's crazy how much of a lie that was. You authorized it, and I now know that. The question is why?
At the stop sign, turn right onto Estates Drive.
Someone you know in a sea of snakes actually cared about Charlie and didn't want anything out of the organization. Maybe it's because I was like a loose end.
In 800 feet, turn right onto Union Road Southwest.
Just kind of proven that I'd rather lose everything to say something that I don't believe, least of all for money. I mean, maybe it's also because you have his phone. And when I revealed to the public that he had predicted his own death in remarkable...
At the stop sign, turn right onto Union Road Southwest.
I haven't yet revealed to the public because in retrospect, those messages they're pretty terrifying because they're precise and it feels prophetic. Charlie was gifted, you know that, I know that, and the government most certainly knew that as well since he was a kid, which is why it was at least very interesting to me that you told the New York Times, something that most people didn't pay attention to, but you told the New York Times the night before his murder, Charlie's, and I'm going to quote this, you said that Charlie's adrenal glands were just going off. He couldn't sleep. I know enough about Charlie to know what that means.
Continue on Union Road Southwest for 3/4 of a mile.
Visions like it was in 2018, probably a clearer vision than the one that I had that you guys tried to mock. That danger was coming. And I'm going to go ahead and say that it wasn't about a Jezebel article written by some leftist. Please stop saying that because it's not true. I know Charlie, a leftist article didn't upset him in this way.
Continue on Union Road Southwest for half a mile.
He thought someone was going to kill him. Did express that in writing, and you did not lose those text messages. You knew that. Charlie and I spoke a lot about his third eye. That's why that sentence caught my attention in the article. We spoke about the street lamps that would go off when he would run.
In a 1/4 mile, at the traffic circle, take the 3rd exit onto Butner Road.
A lot of the things that were strange in our childhood, the testing that both of us had to endure. We spoke about the fact that we could both astral project. You know all of this, of course. You have his phone. And how surprised we were when we learned that not everybody does that naturally. Sleep paralysis, you name it. We had conversations about it. And if Charlie's adrenal glands were going off, it was probably maybe for the very same reason that I pulled my kids out of school days before he was, because I was coming. And since we are being open, I also want you to know that it struck me as odd when you said
Where am I going?
in that interview with Jesse Waters that you wanted Charlie to have a good night's sleep. He was so excited. So you sent him to sleep in his daughter's room. You know, it just registered to me as a little bit backwards. I wanted my husband to have a good night's sleep.
Exit the traffic circle onto Butner Road.
I'd probably let him sleep in the room, and I would sleep in my daughter's room.
Continue on Butner Road for 1.5 miles.
What was interesting is that you said the next morning when he snuck in, he grabbed his wedding band. Again, minor detail, but I asked myself, why was his wedding band off? But enough of speculation. Here are the facts. I now have verifiable proof in writing that Justin Strife and you lied to me. You know exactly who Pierre is. Why did Justin Strife say that he had never heard of Pierre? It's crazy. Justin, why would you do that? Justin, you know him, you've met with him. You've personally met with Pierre. Erica, you've met with him in the wake of Charlie. I have, again, verifiable proof. So you can call your lawyers, you can spend another $1 billion on PR if you want to. Tell your lawyer to call my lawyer. I mean, you guys certainly have the money to do all of these things. It's not going to wipe away the truth. Okay? The truth is that there was a deal on the table with Pierre, who, yes, is from France, born in France. And that deal was worth billions. Not millions, billions, plural, billions of dollars. Just after Charlie was shot, and again, I have proof, Pierre had a phone call with Justin Strife. He also had a phone call with Mr. Don Origo of Turning Point USA down in Tampa. And that was really odd. Somehow, this Frenchman, Pierre, he knew that Charlie was before the rest of the world did. How did he know that? How did he know before I knew? Especially because he wasn't yet a donor to Turning Point USA. Why was he given so much priority? Frenchman. I'm interested. I know that after Charlie died, that deal went through. Yeah. If I'm lying, this would definitely fall within the category of defamation. So, yeah, I'm all in on this one. I'm guessing, by the way, regarding this Pierre, this might be the reason that the White House never got back to me regarding the French Foreign Legion being involved with Charlie. Because, I don't know, there could be a French angle here. Could this be a motive? Could billions of dollars be a motive? I mean, I'll just ask them immediate questions. My question would be, why would a devout Catholic Frenchman be looking to give billions of dollars to an evangelical organization? Is that not weird? Just objectively
I don't know which way I'm going.
It's a pretty big investment. Do you really care about free market capitalism? What's France got to do with college campuses in America? Full stop. The answer, Erica, is nothing. Nothing. And one of the things that when I was a kid, another GATE kids, because we've been speaking about the GATE program, and they put you in these special classes, they test you frequencies, sounds, they mastering fluoride, all the weird stuff, but one of the things that they're especially interested in is how quickly you can put together puzzles. And I want you to know that I excelled at that. I was really good at putting together puzzles. I gotta tell you, I think picture is starting to emerge here. I think I was right. My best guess is that it was Pierre Falcone all along. Of Angola Gate, we talked about it on the show. France, Israel, the United States, this time it would be Egypt rather than Angola, all working together. Maybe they were getting the band back together to traffic because, yeah, there's been a lot of trafficking that just keeps coming up in this investigation. These countries, these satellite of countries, you trying to pretend with your, what now, billions of dollars, got a PR, we can do all of this. And it was so crazy. Oh my God, little joke about the Egyptian planes, what? Nothing to see here. This is my theory, there's a lot to see here. Because you were lying to cover Bibi Netanyahu's tracks. It's very strange. You were there. Bibi Netanyahu called. Andrew told me that Bibi offers to take Turning Point USA to the next level, and that Charlie turned him down in the Hamptons at the dinner that you were a part of. You don't remember that part. You said he was just calling about a letter that Charlie wrote 5 months earlier. The dinner that you thereafter allowed an army of influencers to claim never actually happened, but you were there. Oh, I was there every step of the way. None of this happened. Nobody wanted to address Bibi calling. Nobody made any statements about it. Full-blown psyop, psychological operation. Truly, everything that you guys did, not only was it cruel, but I think the real motivation was you just thought you could psychologically break me. That's what this whole thing has been, one big psyop. Very well funded because there's a lot of money on the line. If nothing happened in the Hamptons that was out of the usual, why the panic? Because something did happen. Charlie told Bibi Netanyahu no. Bibi, also, Charlie had declined to have Bibi on his podcast. When Bibi went on a little PR tour, Charlie didn't want to have him on the podcast, or Andrew. So Charlie seems pretty done with Israel, right? Don't want to have the Prime Minister of Israel.
There are police reported ahead.
He's not interested in, but I certainly am. It's in exchange for what? right? In exchange for what was Bibi Netanyahu going to take Turning Point USA to the next level? In exchange for what? And also, how was he planning to get that money into the company? Turning Point was already worth $100 million. Wasn't $100 million annually. What does the next level mean? It sounds like it would have to be billions. Via whom? My guess is Pierre. Erica. I think that there's a reason Pierre knew that Charlie was dead first. I think there's a reason he was a priority. Cal, why? I think France and Israel are involved in Charlie Kirk. And I'm going to put that out there with full confidence. I also now have very strong evidence which suggests that you lied.
In half a mile, slight left for Georgia 154 West, Georgia 166 West.
Your mother as she was receiving the treatment. Like I said, I now have something which strongly disputes that narrative. So I'll ask you this question on behalf of the world. What the hell happened on September 10th? Why are you guys struggling to get your story straight? Why did you tell Jesse Waters this?
And you wanted to see Charlie immediately and came up. Take us through that.
We landed in Utah. Went straight to the hospital.
Straight to the hospital. Andrew told me that when he deplaned, you guys embraced on the tarmac and he boo-hoo cried in your arms because he has so much pent-up anxiety. So just given the planes, which you confirmed to me which plane he was on and which plane you were on, that would mean that you had to wait for Andrew to land for an hour. Waited for an hour. Don't do the thing where you tell me that Andrew went rogue. Don't do that, Erica. You're lying. You would be lying. Question is why? Why did you wait and how long did you wait? And who was on the Egyptian planes? Who took off the Delaware? Who stayed behind to communicate on that second plane that was transponding for no reason? I think you know what I know, which is that I'm going to find out. This is not going to be a never-ending mystery. This is not going to be the JFK story. I'm going to figure out exactly what happened. I'm getting very close, against all odds, against billions. I might have billions, but I have the truth. So, that's what I wanted to say.
Hello, I'm hoping that you have a good time watching. And personally, the story of Charlie Kirk had sparked a lot of, conversations online, not just now, but even during his death. And we had a lot of stories. We could hear, people say that he was good, some people say that he was bad, but that does not change the fact that he was a human being, and nobody should receive the kind of violence that he did. But now, leaving that aside, it happens that, Charlie Kirk, it is perceived that Erica Kirk knew what was happening. I don't know if this is the truth or it's just rumors from the social media. Of course, you've seen even from the video of Candace Owens, trying to create this expose. And men, there's a lot that is going on. And when you get to see people on social media and they try to give you a given picture, don't really believe it, because who could say that there was a problem inside the homestead of Charlie Kirk? Who could really tell that things were on fire? Nobody. Until this came to happen, and now the events that followed after. I don't want to speak much about it because, and I don't know what to say about this because it's unbelievable. Whatever that is taking place, and seeing people, of course, people like the truth, and people don't like lies. And so when they get to see Erica Clark presenting that image of a broken, woman, someone who really feels about the situation, yet it is the very opposite. You get frustrated, and that's why you're seeing a lot of conversations, emerging in the social media. And men, one thing that I've noticed, don't mess with the public, even if it only concerns your life. And I think the love that people have for Charlie Kirk, that's why they feel
so pumped because I just picked up my 1-800 contacts order. This is literally the best place to order your contacts. Let me tell you why. First off, I ordered these 2 days ago. That's
It takes two to make a thing go right. It takes two to get awesome. It takes two to make a thing go right. It takes two to get awesome. Let's go.
The music. Two cops right there. One is like an undercover. One right in front of us is an undercover cop. And then the one on the left in front, that's Martin. See? Police. Police. That one, well, no, that's not a cop, is it? I thought that was a cop, but there's no lights. I thought there was the one in front of us is not a cop. What's going on with this? How long she does that? I like the other song better.
Times only matter when those in power are affected. Yeah, and they already released him. So we're going to get into all of that tonight. Greetings, Lauren says, shout out to Casey. Savvy, I watched the American Next Top Model documentary last night, and the very first thing I thought, swear to God, was I wonder if Savvy saw this. Yeah, I saw it. Tyra is terrible and perfect next to EK in the thumbnail, also poor Miss J. Yeah, we're going to get into that one. We're going to make a connection between that and Naomi Campbell, because we have some things to say about the modeling industry. Greetings, Skybar says, RIP Jesse Jackson. Shout out to Lucknor said, I had to read the full title. Shout out to American Indian Man says, I think the Royals disavow Big Nasty Andrew. We're going to call him Big Nasty now, B&A, to protect their own asses. And I bet the Israelis got Andrew in a honeypot to squeeze.
Fast forwarded.
All of that as well. We're also going to discuss, this one was sent my way, another thing I missed from the Epstein files, but this is very damning. Apparently, according to the files and emails in the files, it sounds like Jeffrey Epstein allegedly was hunting Black people. I kid you not. We're going to get into that. We're also going to discuss Tyra Banks, former supermodel, is not having a good week after this new docuseries just dropped on Netflix, which she is a part of. People are not happy with her and her reluctancy to be accountable with her role in some of the really controversial things that happened with America's Next Top Model. And there's two incidents that we're going to discuss on this show where I feel like Tyra should have taken more responsibility. And last but not least, we have a new reveal here about Erica Kirk. We're going to talk a little bit more about her family tree. We've talked about, what her mom occupation and her dad's occupation, but we're going to go a little bit further because it appears that Erica has even more connections than I realized to some people in some pretty high places. So a lot of things are coming out, ladies and gentlemen. Again, the theme is sometimes they come back. So let's go ahead and dive into it, ladies and gents. If you haven't had a chance to do so, could you do me a solid and smash that like button? And if you're new, don't forget to like, sub, and share, just like a pair. Let's do the damn thing. Let's get into this first story here about Tucker Carlson. So, this here shows you that no one is exempt and no one is immune. Because Tucker Carlson, journalist, really well known, he traveled to Israel. We're going to get into why he was there in the first place. And he was detained apparently in the Ben Gurion airport. This is a big one. Him and Mike Huckabee had been going back and forth on X past couple of days about how Christians are treated in Israel. And so that's what prompted a lot of this. So Tucker Carlson agreed to go there to interview Mike Huckabee. Little did he know what would happen after that. Now, before he went there, and I wonder if this also has something to do with it, before he went there, he had an interview with a Christian pastor, Faris Ibrahim. And this pastor told Tucker Carlson something about Mike Johnson. Listen to what he says.
Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, is a very prominent evangelical, third in line presidency. Last August, he went to Israel. He prayed the Western Wall. He went to a settlement in the West Bank. And he planted trees in those settlements in the West Bank. And he declared that these Judeans and Sumerian hills belong to the Jewish people by divine right. What John...
We're going to be so punished for this. We're going to be punished for this. I'm just telling you.
He never interacted and met with the... people go and visit the dead stones, but they forget about the living stones. There are people there who are suffering because of this system that keeps oppressing them and applying pressure, and their numbers are shrinking. The people are leaving. Mike?
So he was telling Tucker Carlson that Mike Johnson went there and planted a tree or whatever in the West Bank and said that this is for Israel. Mike Johnson is another one that is very much captured and bows to the state of Israel. But this interview, from what I understand, happened before Tucker Carlson went to Israel to interview Mike Huckabee. Because if you watch the full interview, which I think many have seen, but if you watch the full interview at the very beginning, Tucker Carlson says, we're going to Israel and here's the reason why. So he explained, why they were going there. Now, I'm just going to come out and say it. I don't think he should have went, because I feel like if Mike Huckabee wanted to have an interview with Tucker Carlson, Mike Huckabee could have done that interview right here in the US. That's how I feel. But he went there. And another thing that was mentioned during this interview here with the Christian pastor was what Tucker Carlson said about the politicians being captured.
You wind up, as I know you wind up with Christian politicians who are constantly invoking the name of Jesus, supporting the murder of their fellow Christians in the Levant. So that is I think that's very serious. I don't think you should do that. I think you're going to suffer for that. Don't do that. How can you excuse or aid in the murder of innocents in the name of Jesus? And I've said this directly to a bunch of these politicians because I get very upset about it. And they're under a spell. They don't, even in private, they're well, we have to.
Last December.
Yeah. So you guys know Tucker Carlson has been pretty vocal about like not supporting not just Israel, but we need to focus on what's happening right here in America. Politicians shouldn't be bending the knee to another country. And he's been very vocal about that. And because of that, he's been attacked by a number of people on the right. So he decided, I guess, to settle this with Mike Huckabee about how Christians are being treated in Israel. And he announces it here, why he decided to go. So listen to this.
First is we're flying to Jerusalem to interview Mike Huckabee. Mike Huckabee is, of course, the American ambassador to Israel, someone I've known for over 30 years and always liked, and also a Baptist preacher of some kind, but certainly a prominent Baptist religious figure, also U.S. ambassador, and someone who has views that I just don't agree with at all on questions of American foreign policy and also on questions of theology. He's a famous Christian Zionist, and a famous proponent of neocon foreign policy. I disagree with both. However, it seems like of all the people you could talk to, maybe Mike Huckabee is a guy you could talk to in a reasonable way, in a calm way, without shouting or hatred. By the way, if you want a picture of what hell itself is like, it's shouting and hatred. It's a large group of people screaming, calling for violence. That is literally a picture of hell. And don't live in it if you can help it. We don't want to. So maybe Huckabee is the guy to begin a reasonable conversation about what's best for the United States and what's true about Christian theology. So we're going to try. We're flying to Jerusalem. Difficult to do, not without risk, but we're doing it because we really believe that the direction that this conversation is moving is bad. It's bad for everybody. It's bad for the country, and it's bad for our souls.
Well, they flew there to interview Mike Huckabee. Again, I don't see Mike Huckabee as reasonable, especially on this issue. If I was Tucker Carlson, I would have said, if you want to have this conversation, we need to have it, right here. We could do this conversation virtually or whatever. But Mike Huckabee, I guess, wanted him to come there to show him, we'll show you how Christians are treated so you can see it for yourself. Now, from what I understand, Tucker Carlson didn't even go. From what I understand, I don't think he even left the airport, but apparently he was detained. And many are starting to ask, did Mike Huckabee set up Tucker Carlson? Let's go ahead and get into it. He spoke with the Daily Mail, and Mike Huckabee is already trying to deny this. Tucker Carlson detained in Israel. Journalists dragged into interrogation room as explosive interview sparks diplomatic firestorm. Conservative podcasting titan Tucker Carlson said he and his staff were detained in Israel on Wednesday following an interview with Donald Trump's ambassador to the country. Of course, that was Mike Huckabee. The former Fox News host flew into Tel Aviv for a sit-down with Mike Huckabee, who challenged Carlson to speak to him directly following an online spat about the country's treatment of Christians. Carlson, who also frequently criticizes Israel for its military actions in Gaza, took Huckabee up on his offer. But as critics and pro-Israel activists began piling on Carlson for reportedly not leaving the airport during his brief visit, he revealed that he was met with hostility in the Middle Eastern country. So he didn't even leave the airport. It goes on to say, Carlson exclusively told the Daily Mail that shortly after the interview, Israeli officials confiscated his passport and hauled one of his colleagues off to an interrogation room. Men who identified themselves as airport security took our passports, hauled our executive producer in a side room, and then demanded to know what we spoke to Ambassador Huckabee about. Now, again, Mike Huckabee is an American citizen. Why do they need to know what he talked to Mike Huckabee about? It's a pariah. It was bizarre. We're now out of the country. Prior to the interview, Carlson posted a photo on X of himself and his business partner, Neil Patel. They were in front of the Ben Gurion Airport on Wednesday with the caption, "Greetings from Israel." Let's continue on a little bit more here. Of course, you guys know what Mike Huckabee looks like.
Sorry, I'm going to make a video. I will show you how I will make a video. So, I'm on TikTok. So let's go back. So, this is my TikTok. And let's see. What is that one? Let's see what this one is. That sounds funny. Okay, so yeah, dance video. So basically click on that plus sign. I'm doing a 15-second video. I'm gonna listen to it a couple times, but I think I'm gonna do that one. But right now I'm gonna hit this. Got one. Where are we going? We are not staying here. Directions.
Drive east, then turn left. In the face of so many invitations to see so many wonderful places, a huge and obviously intentional missed opportunity that's coming. I can't go wrong with this song. So.
Mirror of your eyes. Mirror of your eyes.
Okay, sorry about that. Now, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. I didn't get it perfect. I should have had the volume up a little louder. Sorry, I gotta remember that. But I'll go now.
Turn right onto Bolton Road. Continue for 1.5 miles.
So, not bad. I should have something playing here, but I was just thinking about Sabbath, for one thing, because everybody's like, you know, you go to church on Sunday, or you go to church on Saturday, but really, the Bible says that Jesus is in the midst of you whenever there's two or more of you, you know.
Coming from David Friedman, who is the former U.S. ambassador to Israel during Trump's first term. Two sources familiar with the matter, however, told the Daily Mail that the Israeli government initially did not want to allow Carlson into the country, prompting a delicate negotiation involving the State Department. So this is a big red flag. They did not want him there. Again, we showed the video of members of the Likud party saying that Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens need to be taken down. So of course, they were not going to send a welcoming invitation to Tucker Carlson.
To go there.
In the end, the Israeli government decided not to bar Carlson from entering the country in order to avoid a diplomatic incident.
To where they are.
A spokesman for the U.S. Embassy in Israel denied that Carlson was detained, of course, and claimed he received the same passport control questions that countless visitors to Israel, including Ambassador Huckabee,
In a quarter mile, bear right onto Marietta Boulevard Northwest.
entrance and exit from Israel. No, that's not possible, because he said they asked him, what did he speak to Mike Huckabee about? So the treatment was not the same. It is not accurate that Israel only was going to let Tucker into the country for an interview, the representative added. The only engagement the embassy had with Israel
Drive east, then turn left.
his private plane landing as part of facilitating a seamless visit. It was Tucker who chose to only come into the country for a few hours and depart, and Tucker received the same positive treatment of any visitors to Israel. So
Turn left, then turn right.
what does that say about the state of Israel, that this is how you would treat visitors? Again, they may say, oh, well, security.
Turn right onto Marietta Boulevard Northwest.
It's a little bit extreme, don't you think? You have to protect yourselves. You're the one that's already attacking. You always attack.
Continue for 1 mile.
So you'll see this here that Gen X girl shared this. Tucker Carlson interviews Mike Huckabee. Israel freaks out. So check this out here, because Mike Huckabee, like I said, he's trying to call BS on this. Listen.
Shortly after the Daily Mail article was published, the Israeli government, Israeli media, Israeli influencers, and U.S. Ambassador Mike Huckabee jumped on social media in what appears to be a coordinated campaign to call Carlson a liar, while simultaneously admitting Israel airport security did in fact detain and question him. U.S. Ambassador Mike Huckabee, citing a literal Israeli propagandist who attended Israel's paid influencer event and is a self-described Israeli who served in the IDF, Mike Huckabee quickly sided with Israel instead of Tucker Carlson, an American who was on his return flight to the U.S.
That just goes to show you just how corrupt he is, right? So here's the tweets here from Mike Huckabee, where he's just retweeting, reposting propagandists. He was willing to side with a member of the IDF before he would believe a word that another American citizen said. So that just tells you who Mike Huckabee really appreciates and values here.
In a separate post, Huckabee sided with another Israeli who admitted to Tucker Carlson's interrogation, but per their usual propaganda, claimed it was a nice chat. AIPAC, Israel lobby's biggest player, AIPAC, quickly jumped to Mike Huckabee's defense by claiming Huckabee stood on principle and told the truth. So Tucker had to invent a bogus lie to change the story. AIPAC PAC also referred to Carlson as a Qatari resident, a dog whistle to their year-long campaign of painting Carlson as an agent of Qatar because he criticizes Israel.
So do you guys see this? The craziness, and Mike Huckabee participated in it. So the good news is that Tucker Carlson was able to get back to the U.S., but just because he came back, like I said, sometimes they come back, that doesn't mean he wasn't detained. That doesn't mean he wasn't treated inappropriately. See, that's the catch. There are many people on social media saying,
In a quarter mile, bear left onto Chattahoochee Avenue Northwest.
right? Rick Sanchez talked about his own experience, and I thought this was interesting. Rick says he believes Tucker Carlson. Listen to this.
Hey everybody, I'm Rick Sanchez, and I wanted to comment on the situation with Tucker Carlson. Full transparency, Tucker is my friend. He and I communicate quite often, and just this morning
In a quarter mile, turn left onto Collier Road Northwest.
The reason I say that is because I trust Tucker, and if Tucker says that he was detained or felt like he was detained at Ben Gurion Airport, then I take him at his word, despite what many in the media are doing, which is criticizing him.
Turn left onto Collier Road Northwest, then turn right.
Tucker Carlson claims. The word claims implies that they're doubting his story. They're basically trying to call him a liar.
Turn right onto Seaboard Industrial Boulevard Northwest.
And maybe this is kind of a teaser, but let me ask you a question. Maybe I'm asking.
In 900 feet, 1360 Seaboard Industrial Boulevard Northwest, Atlanta, Georgia 30318. USA will be on the left.
Which one would I choose and why? I'm going to give the answer to that question in just a little bit and have a little bit of experience with it because
1360 Seaboard Industrial Boulevard Northwest, Atlanta, Georgia 30318. USA is on the left.
Similar to the situation that Tucker was in. And let me tell you something, no matter who detains you, when you lose your freedom and you feel vulnerable like that, it's scary as hell, okay? You don't know what's going on. You know you can't leave. You know you're being held. And you don't know what's going to happen. And it gets a little dicey. So let's go back to what Tucker situation is. So Tucker Carlson went along with his business partner, Neil Patel. There's a picture of them now that Tucker put out. It's the only one that they put out so far. While they were there at Ben Gurion Airport, after arriving, they went to have a meeting with Mike Huckabee. And after the meeting with Mike Huckabee, they went back to the airport. First of all,
Again, this is why sometimes I wonder if this was a trap. I wonder if Mike Huckabee did this to try to trap Tucker Carlson or something like that.
why the meeting with Mike Huckabee? He went to meet with Mike Huckabee because Huckabee had taken offense to the fact that Tucker had criticized him. Why had Tucker criticized him? Tucker had criticized him because Mike Huckabee is a Christian Zionist. He is a neocon, kind of like a Lindsey Graham type or a Hillary Clinton type, exactly the same in that sense. But Mr. Huckabee seems, even though he works for the United States and is the ambassador from the United States to Israel, he always seems much more beholden and much more loyal to Israel than he is to the United States, by far. So it's curious, because that's not usually the role of a diplomat when he's sent overseas to represent his country. Tucker has said that on various occasions, and he's absolutely, I believe, right in that criticism. So Mr. Huckabee then took to social media and started criticizing Mr. Carlson, basically saying something to the effect of, oh, you're a big guy criticizing me, but why don't you come and say this stuff to my face? Which is pretty much what he told him. And Tucker said, okay, I'll get on a plane and I'll go talk to you to your face. And which is why